Hello my loves, Tony here from TL Yarn Crafts and welcome back. Now I hope you came here for some real talk because that's what I'm giving you today. Because between the gorgeous yarns that are calling our names, the patterns that are screaming at us from every corner of the internet, and the tools that say they're going to change our lives, being a yarn lover can add up really quickly, and not all of us have unlimited funds for these fiber addictions. But fear not, yarn lovers, I am coming at you with 20 budget-friendly hacks that are going to save your stash and your wallet. Now if this video showed up at the perfect time, make sure you like it and consider subscribing to my channel. I'm still on my way to 1 million subs. I'm not gonna stop talking about it. We're gonna make it happen this year. And before we can get this yarn party started, we have to give some love to our Cup of Caffeine sponsor. I'm recording in the afternoon again, and you know what that means. We're hydrating. Now today's Cup of Caffeine comes from our friend Sue, and when donating, Sue said, "I love all your helpful hints. I've been crocheting for 65 years and I'm still learning new tricks thanks to you." And thank you so much, Sue. That is such a huge compliment. You have no idea. I'm so grateful to have you here around the channel, and I hope we can stitch together for a whole lot longer. Now, if you like my content and want to support my channel, buy me a coffee. Who knows, I might shout you out in the next one. Now let's talk budget saving yarn hacks. First up, we're talking yarn pooling, and no, not this yarn pooling. I'm talking about rounding up your crafty crew and going in on a bulk yarn order together. Many yarn sites like Hobie and Joann offer amazing bulk yarn discounts, so not only can you save some coins with your friends, but then you have an excuse to hang out with them. Just make sure nobody gets confused about who owes what. I'm not trying to start no drama. Next, let's embrace our inner frog. I'm sure we can all admit that we have a few projects in our whip graveyard that are ripe for the plucking. Or maybe you found some gorgeous wool or cashmere sweaters at the thrift market and they just need to be turned back into usable yarn. Unravel those old projects and liberate that yarn for the true glow up it deserves. Plus, frogging sweaters like that is just so satisfying, kind of like when you pop bubble wrap or like when you wear one of those paper sheet masks. It gets me every time. Now, speaking of thrift stores, it is time for you to take that relationship to the next level. Now, charity shops might smell like a musty attic, but they also might have some treasures just for you. You can score entire bags of brand new yarn, some really lovely like half-finished projects, or even some pristine tools. I've got my entire set of clover hooks from the thrift store. Now my trick is to go out to the bougie neighborhoods and check out those thrift shops because they just be giving stuff away. That's all right though, their trash is our treasure. Now for this hack, we're gonna put on our DIY hats and learn how to dye our own yarn. Now plain yarn is typically way cheaper than the more colorful stuff, and with a little food coloring or Kool-Aid, you can dye up some really beautiful things. Now I know from experience that this can be a very expensive side mission of its own, so don't go throwing your money away on expensive equipment or powdered dyes just yet. Instead, start with buying just a few bare skeins from a website like We Crochet, and then you can level up and start getting things in packs of 10 from wool to dye for. Now here's a skill that I think every single yarn lover should have, and that is understanding how to substitute yarns. Y'all, I'm telling you, these patterns be out here asking for all kinds of crazy stuff, and that sweater quantity is looking a whole lot like a car note. Instead, try swapping in some budget-friendly yarns that are still gonna leave you with a project you'll love. My favorite tool for this is a website called Yarn Sub. You put in the yarn that the project calls for, and then it'll recommend some other yarns at different websites. Now, if that doesn't work or you want to be a little bit more precise, I have a quick and dirty tool over on my blog, and I will link it down below. You'll be a yarn substituting pro in no time. Now, if you really want to save some money, it's time to start sliding in those DMs. And by DMs, I mean signing up for the newsletters of your favorite yarn companies and craft stores. We all know you're going to spend the money anyway, so why not save a little bit when you do it? Yarn vendors, big and small, give out huge discounts to their newsletter list because they know that information is coming straight into your inbox. And sure, your inbox might get a little bit cluttered, but just imagine how much money you're going to save. Now, if you want to be really smart about it, go ahead and set up a separate email box just for these kinds of promotions. You're welcome. Now, this next hack can help you save some money, but it also might help you save the planet. It's time to get down on some alternative fibers, also known as eco yarns. Yarns made from t-shirts and other recycled materials are also a little bit cheaper than their first run counterparts. And it's really a win-win, right? You get to pad your stash with some great fibers that you've never tried before, and Mother Nature is happy. Just don't go hugging no trees now. They're not gonna be as soft as that bamboo yarn. Now, I know we talked about dyeing your own yarn, but have you thought about spinning your own yarn? Now, this is something that is all the rage right now. now. And one of the big benefits is the cost savings over buying hand spun yarn. A drop spindle or a spinning wheel could be a bit of an investment up front, but you can save a whole lot by checking resale websites or even Facebook Marketplace. And plus you'll have a fancy new skill to show off at the next craft meetup. I will say, when y'all come around with your drop spindles and you're just spinning and talking, I am just fascinated every single time. Introduce yourself to some new friends and some new yarns when you join or start a yarn swap group. Now these can be virtual or in person, but it's just a nice way to swap yarns with somebody you really trust. I did one of these at my house one time and everyone just brought over all their craft supplies, yarn and non-yarn related. We put it out on the table, picked through it all night, drank some cocktails, chitty-chatted, and by the end of the night you just took whatever you wanted. And anything that was left over went to charity. It was a really good time. I got to hang out with some friends and I also got to play around with some yarns that I probably never would have bought for myself. If you're looking to save some serious money, start using what you have at home, especially when it comes to notions like stitch markers. There are so many DIY options at home to make stitch markers. We're talking paper clips, safety pins, even bread ties. They work just as good as the ones you get from the store, and you've got this stuff laying around anyway. I was at a yarny meetup one time and I saw a girl take her hoop earring out and use it as a stitch marker, and I was like, oh, she is badass. All right, lovelies, we are halfway through this list and Mama has used a lot of words, so it's time for me to hydrate, and you probably need to as well, so just put the laundry down for a second. We don't need you mixing up the linens and the lingerie. Have a little bit of water, take a deep breath, stretch, all that good stuff, okay? Ooh. Well, that's good. All right, let's get back to it. We will kick off this leg of the video talking about one of the best investments that will save you a lot of money over time, and that is in your tools. Now, it might seem prudent to just buy really cheap materials when you're first trying out a craft, but I would argue against that. Think about it this way. Using the wrong tools can not only change the way you crochet, but how much you enjoy it. So I am always an advocate for investing in good tools right up front. Now, you don't need to buy a whole set of anything, but try a few different hooks and see which ones you really like. Give it a few months, and if you're still into the hobby, maybe then consider getting the nicer hooks. You're gonna waste so much money buying the cheap, crappy ones from Amazon when you can just jump a couple steps ahead, get the good hooks, and start enjoying crochet right now. I always recommend the clover hooks for folks that are just starting out, but if you don't have 40 bucks to spend on an entire set of hooks, they have a very similar product over on We Crochet called their Dots hooks, and those ones are only $29.99. Now, this one might seem super obvious, but for anyone who doesn't know, buying digital patterns is way cheaper than buying paper patterns. With digital patterns, not only can you print them, download them, save them, but you can also access them from a myriad of devices. When I'm starting on a new pattern, I like to upload the digital version to an app called Notability, and it allows me to mark up the pattern, save it, categorize it, so I can always go back to it and remember what I did last time. Also, make sure you're taking advantage of bulk pattern discounts that are offered by lots of designers. Shameless plug incoming, but yes, I do offer bulk discounts on my patterns, which you can find on tlyarncrafts.com as well as Ravelry. You can save up to 20% off when you put a bunch of your favorite patterns in the cart at once. You can find those bulk discount codes in the product descriptions of all of my patterns. Now, I love a yarn bowl just as much as the next gal, but if we're being honest, that is just something you never need to buy. You can make a super simple yarn bowl by attaching a binder clip onto a heavy mixing bowl, and if you want to get fancy with it, make your own yarn bowl by getting some clay from the craft store. I saw this really cute video of this girl that made some yarn bowls just out of some craft clay and some paint, and I was just like, I could totally do that. I think it'd be fun to turn this into like a cute little Zen activity and make a yarn bowl that is a fraction of the price of store-bought. Take some time and learn to mend to keep your favorite hand makes in the game even longer. A little hole in your blanket or sweater does not have to mean that that piece is out for the count. With some clever darning techniques, you can bring it back to life better than ever. And if you're a little bit nervous about trying that yarn surgery yourself, check out your local yarn store. They might be willing to lend a hand. For hack number 15, we are not letting anything go to waste, so grab all of your scraps for smaller projects. You can use yarn ends to stuff amigurumi or longer bits of yarn for small projects like coasters and scrunchies. One of my favorite videos on the internet is from Elise Rose Crochet when she talks about different ways to use small bits of yarn. She shows off the way to make a magic yarn ball, so I'm saving up my ends to make one of those myself. Now this hack is gonna get a new whip on your hook and give you access to exclusive savings. Why not check out some of those crafty challenges and crochet alongs? These events often give you exclusive savings or giveaways that you can use to add a little bit of something special to your stash. Many of these events hook you up with giveaways and savings, and the projects are often great stash busters. Not only can you save a little bit of money on buying some new yarn, but you can use some of the yarn in your stash for a new project. Clear out some yarn, make space for new yarn. It's called craft math. Get with it. Now for this hack, you're gonna have to put on some real pants because honey loves, we are taking a trip to the library. Now I live in the library, but you might not know how amazing of a resource it is. Libraries often have plenty of books with really great hobby and craft sections with a lot of your favorite authors in there. And don't forget to check out apps like Hoopla and Libby, which offer ebooks and digital versions of popular magazines. Now this is hack number 18, but it really should be number 1. If you are trying to rescue your yarn budget, then get your Marie Kondo on and clean up that stash. Knowing what you have not only keeps you from buying yarn you don't need, but it can also inspire your next project. It's like being a curator of your own yarn museum. I can't count on 2 hands how many times I've impressed myself with the stash that I have. I've been curating this for years. I'm super proud of what I have and excited to keep using it for future projects. And I'm sure if you could get all the way to the back of your stash, you would feel the same. So do it for yourself, do it for your stash, get it cleaned up. Now, one of the biggest money-saving hacks I employ is designing my own patterns. Now, I'm not saying jump out the window and start an Etsy shop or something, but understanding yarn weights and how to manipulate a swatch can make a huge difference for your craft life. These kinds of tools are going to help you develop or even alter the patterns that you have. And this can be especially helpful if you get inspired by a hand crocheted piece that you see in the mall. Last but not least, you can actually make some yarn money by sharing your skills. Offer to teach your friends or lend a hand at your local yarn shop. This is a great way to barter for materials or even make a little bit of yarn money on the side. Just don't be like me and spend your entire paycheck at the local yarn shop. Clearly, we're going to need some willpower for this one to work. And there we have it, friends, 20 different ways to keep your craft life vibrant without breaking the bank. Just remember that it's never about how much cash you can throw at your craft, but it's about the joy that you get from creating. So keep crafting, keep saving, and most importantly, keep sharing that good yarn love. I came a little bit closer because it's time for me and you to have a little yarn bestie heart to heart. We live in a world where social media is constantly shoving the latest yarn, tools, finished objects, all those things in our faces all the time. It's easy to fall into this trap to think that you need all of this stuff to be a real crafter, but here's the real tea, babe. You don't need none of that stuff. FOMO, or the fear of missing out, is so real in the crafting community. We see somebody with this new yarn or these ergonomic hooks and suddenly we feel like we're falling behind. But remember that the most important tools that we have in this space are our own hands and our creativity. Social media can be this wealth of inspiration, but it can also make us feel like our stashes aren't big enough, our projects aren't fancy enough, or we're not crafting fast enough. But don't let those highlight reels fool you, because behind all of those 30-second videos are a mountain of whips just like the rest of us. The truth is that some of the most amazing art comes from working within a set of limitations. I don't know about you, but I remember watching Chopped on the Food Network, where they would take chefs and give them some of the most ridiculous ingredients. They had to make something edible out of canned chicken and Rocky Mountain oysters, which I just found out aren't even oysters. These kinds of challenges really separate the novices from the professionals, and that same thing plays out here in crochet. Using what you have, upcycling, really being creative, that's the stuff that's not only going to save you money, but it's also going to push your skills forward. So the next time you feel that FOMO creeping in, just remember this: you are not defined by the size of your stash or the price of your tools. Instead, focus on putting love in every single stitch and finding joy in the process. Keep it fun, keep it real, and most importantly, keep it true to yourself. Now go forth and craft your little hearts out. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.